Now it's time to answer a question submitted by you. Today's question comes from John. John asks, as a high school student, can I make more money skipping college, skipping student loans, getting 4 more years in the workforce, and starting retirement investing early? My uncle has a construction company where I can start right away at $22 an hour. I could alternatively study construction science at a university. All right, John, this is a great question, and to answer it, I'm going to have to make some assumptions about your particular situation and some assumptions about the future. This is just a way of estimating and an example of how you could go about the problem solving. It's in no way the exact solution for you, as I can't predict the future, and there are factors about you as a person that I don't know. But I can do a reasonable job doing an estimate. So what I have here, if you're watching the video, is a spreadsheet that I put together. Some of the calculations are hidden, but this first one is how much money would you make skipping college and tracking your nest egg. I made a few assumptions to figure this out. I assumed that 7% growth would be what you could get on an investment after inflation. I believe that's a reasonable assumption. I also assumed that you get regular raises, and I put those in the spreadsheet in today's money. And I assumed that you were going to invest 15% of your take-home pay into retirement. So the first column here I have is your age, from age 18 to age 60. That's the duration of the example I put together. I assumed that with $22 an hour after taxes, you'd make about $35,000 a year. And I worked that up to, at age 60, making $46,914. So you started around $35,000 take-home pay, and that's after taxes. And all the numbers I put in the spreadsheet are corrected for inflation. So if you can see the video, all the numbers up to 60 years old, where I say you make roughly $47,000 a year, that's take-home pay in today's money. The actual nominal value will be much higher when you're 60, following these assumptions. If we look back at the spreadsheet, though, what we see is you start investing right away, and you can invest over $5,000 in today's money right off if you were to go into the workforce at the rate your uncle can pay you. And it's a good pay for the construction industry, looking at averages for my area. And that investment pattern leads you to making a retirement nest egg of $1.5 million in today's money. That's pretty good. And over the lifetime of your career, with my assumptions, again, they're all just assumptions, you end up with a total earned income of $1.7 million. So that's roughly how much money you make over the working career. The next part of the spreadsheet I have assumes that you go to college and you manage to go to school completely debt-free. I assumed that you work still while you're in school and you make only $25,000 a year take-home pay. And that can include scholarships, by the way. I assumed that you pay $20,000 a year for tuition, so $80,000 for a 4-year degree in construction science. That's the guess here. You could probably hit that if you did some of the years at a community college and then hit up a state university that was reasonable and got good scholarships. The assumption I have here is that you stay debt-free, so you pay your way through. Your only net gain is around $5,000 a year savings, and that's probably reasonable for a college student paying their way through and working. After that, the average starting salary, corrected for today's money, is around $40,000 for a construction science major if you went right into construction management. So I say at age 22, that's where you start. And on the high end for construction science in today's money, you'd actually be closer to $70,000 after the working career has taken you to age 60. So you're able to make more money per year after going to university. I mean, that's the goal. If you didn't, why would you go to university? Why would you study a degree that's not marketable and wouldn't make you more than what you could do just leaving high school? That would be kind of silly. So if you follow this path, you end up making more money over the working career. You make $2.1 million in today's money using my assumptions, but your nest egg is actually less than what I calculated for someone going right into work, right out of high school. It's by, what is it? Less than 100,000, but it's still less than. And that means that those 4 years that you would have spent in university just investing $5,000 a year there is enough to tip the scales and end up with a bigger nest egg. Time really is the most powerful thing when it comes to investing. I put my assumptions here if you can see the video at the bottom of the screen, and we've basically already talked through them, but they're repeated for good due diligence. Now, I did do a third example, and that's going to school and getting a standard student loan. I assumed that you worked and you earned $25,000 every year, just like the last example, but you didn't pay for any of your tuition. You put it all on student loans. You put $80,000 in today's money in student loans. So then you go back into the workforce, construction science, construction management, and you start at age 22. I had the salary be the exact same that it was in the last example, starting around $41,000 a year take-home pay and ending at $67,000, $68,000 take-home pay in today's money. Now, if you see the spreadsheet, it's kind of peculiar. I have the student loan payments under the education expense column, the last column, and they become less and less in today's money. Well, that's because the fixed amount you'd be paying in student loans becomes less and less in today's money the further you get out. So I've corrected for inflation there, and it shrinks. But the amount that you have to pay in student loans for the next 10 years, you don't get out of this until you're 32, is going to far and away every year exceed what you were investing per year in the last example. So I assumed another caveat here, and that caveat is you don't invest for retirement until your student loan is paid off because you can't afford it. That assumption is relatively reasonable. It assumes that you want to have the same standard of living as you did if you were debt-free. I should mention on the bottom of the sheet, I list that I assumed the student loan was at 7% interest for 10 years and that you kept up with it. And I think that is everything that I needed to assume there. But if we look at the total amount that you earn over the lifetime of your working career, it's higher. It's higher than when you skip college completely, but it's not as high as what it was in the last example where you made it to school and you made it out debt-free. And that's because I deduct from the take-home pay what you paid to the student loans. You technically didn't get to keep that money like when you were investing it. The other thing is because you had to delay your retirement investing by a total of, I think, 14 years. You didn't start until age 32. The nest egg in this example is only $750,000 by the time it's all said and done. And that's abysmal compared to double that. So getting through college debt-free in my assumptions just at a glance can double your retirement nest egg, or in other words, getting student loans and paying them off for 10 years can cut your nest egg potential following these rules in half. And the rules we followed were the ones that are promoted by Dave Ramsey. Save 15% for retirement after you're debt-free. I hope that helps answer your question. I know that what I put forward here isn't the exact solution, but you can apply these same problem-solving techniques. You can run the numbers in a similar spreadsheet and figure out what kind of income out of school, given your area where you are, the average construction management degree income versus construction worker income for your area. Run the numbers and compare them and figure out, is it total amount earned that matters to you? Is it the total nest egg? Is it getting out there and working? And how much do you value the experience of going to school and staying in school for another 4 years? Does that really add any value to your life? Does it enrich your life in any way? Does it help you become a more well-rounded person that is not as tangible, something that isn't monetizable? That's something that you might want to ask yourself too. John, I do hope that my answer helps you.